Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramanandamata Paramanandamata. All right. So let us read verses 4 and 5. We are on chapter 5. Sankhya Yoga Prithak Balaha Pravadanti na Panditaha Ekamapyastita Samyak Ubhayor Vindate Phalam Yat Sankhye Prapyate Sthanam Tad yogairapi gamyate ekam sankyam cha yogam cha yah pashyati sa pashyati. So what is Arjuna's state of mind? Arjuna's state of mind is that no matter how much Sri Krishna has said, Arjuna, do karma yoga, he has some kind of fascination for karma sannyasa. Or you might say maybe he's afraid to go in the battlefield, so he feels like he should take sannyasa. So Sri Krishna here is really trying to tell him, look, there are two ways that one can gain knowledge. There are two ways that one can gain this knowledge. One is through the path of karma yoga, which is through the performance of action, performing action, dedicating it to the higher, and accepting the results as prasad. Or there's the path of karma sannyasa, which is the renunciation of action, wherein one focuses on vichara or inquiry, a life of shravanam, mananam, nididhyasanam. So one can take this path, karma yoga, one can take this path, karma sannyasa. And Sri Krishna said, for you, Arjuna, karma yoga is better. And really, if you look at it, at the core, they are one and the same. Why are they one and the same? Because both of them are purifying the mind. Both of them are preparing the seeker for the realization of the self. And so last week, we saw that those who see Sankhya and Yoga, verse 4, those who see this karma sannyas and karma yoga as different, right? These are people who are balaha, those who have immature thinking. Why? Because ekam astitha samyak, just practicing really well. If you take up one and you practice it really well, you gain the fruits of both. So if one practices karma yoga really well, and we saw what really well means last week, so I won't repeat that, but if one is very firm in their practice of karma yoga and does it very well, then they attain purity of mind, then they are ready for knowledge of the self, and they attain realization. Similarly, if one practices karma sannyas very well, then yes, they attain knowledge of the self, they attain realization, and enlightenment. So in both ways, right, we are gaining realization of the self in both ways. It's just a matter of which path one's temperament is suited for. And again, he emphasizes in verse 5 that what is gained by Sankhya. So Sankhya, karma sannyasa, or the karma sannyasis, the same is gained by the karma yogis. And therefore, there is a oneness in them. Don't think that just because one is getting in the path of karma yoga, then one will not be able to attain the highest. In fact, it's a very, very good stage. It's a really great stage to be at because it prepares us very well. Some commentators also interpret in verse 5 Sankhya to be knowledge, path of knowledge, and yoga to be the path of karma yoga. Even if this interpretation is taken, both again are in essence one, because again, karma yoga prepares us to gain knowledge, to attain the realization of the self, right? And that's what jnana yoga is also doing. So you can take it both ways. You can take it as karma sannyas and karma yoga. You can take it as karma yoga and jnana yoga. And why Sri Krishna, you might think there's an overemphasis here of Sri Krishna. Why does he keep saying that? It's because Arjuna's mind is in sannyas. Because Arjuna's mind is in sannyas, Sri Krishna has to keep telling him, where you are is perfect. Wherever you are is perfect. You don't need to go anywhere else. Just be exactly where you are. This is what Sri Krishna wants to emphasize in these teachings. So now, again, a question might come, right? So if it's really karma yoga, karma sannyasa, if really both are converging, they're converging towards knowledge and the realization of the self, they're both converging at one point, why still is Krishna recommending karma yoga? So again, Sri Krishna is going to give another reason for recommending karma yoga. And this reason is found in verse 6. It's because he says karma sannyasa is actually very tough. It is very tough. And to get karma sannyasa, to take the path of karma sannyasa, one has to take up karma yoga first. Karma yoga here means dedicated performance of action. So let us see this verse number 6. Sannyasastu mahabaho.
Sannyaasastu mahabaho.
Dukkhamaptumayogataha.
Dukkhamaptumayogataha.
Yoga yukto munir brahma.
Yoga yukto munir brahma.
Nachirenadhigacchati.
Nachirenadhigacchati.
Sannyasastu mahabaho. Dukkhamaptumayogataha. Yoga yukto munir brahma. Nachirenadhigacchati. So what he says here is sannyas. Sannyasa, renunciation, to mahabaho, O Arjuna, O mighty armed one. Dukkhamaptum. Dukkhamaptum means it's very hard to attain. For whom? Ayogataha. Ayogataha, for the one who has not practiced karma yoga. Yoga yuktaha munir brahma. Yoga yuktaha, the one who has practiced karma yoga, becomes a muni. Muni means a person of contemplation. And Brahma na achirena adhigacchati, and attains to Brahman very quickly. So renunciation, O mighty armed, is hard to attain without yoga. The yoga harmonized man of steady contemplation quickly goes to Brahman. So what does this mean? Two things are pointed out here. One is, without karma yoga, karma sannyasa will be very difficult. So karma yoga is this path which is non-negotiable. Unless, of course, we're talking about the field of bhakti there, then bhakti is completely fine, on its own. But here the topic is karma yoga, karma sannyasa. So without karma yoga, karma sannyasa is not feasible. One cannot actually attain it. It becomes very, very difficult. Dukkham apto. And two, if by chance one gets karma sannyasa or one attains karma sannyasa, that is renouncing the world, without the practice of karma yoga, without the prior practice of it, what happens? It is very, very difficult. It will be very, very difficult. Because if there are still strong desires in a person, let's say to be with a family or to desire a wealth or some kind of reputation or some kind of business, education, if there are still these desires and they are strong and they are not exhausted or expressed, and someone enters into karma sannyas, what happens is these desires will be suppressed. They will be suppressed. So the person cannot meditate. They cannot sit deeply, inquire and meditate because the desires are suppressed, and it's always in the back of their minds. What if I pursued that? Or what if I did that? I wish I did this. I wish I did that. There's always that what if, there's always that regret, there's that doubt. And we saw in chapter 4, samshayatma vinashyati. So one who unprepared enters sannyasa has these desires are suppressed. And when desires are suppressed, we know what happens is they express fully at a certain point in time. Let's say somebody gives up eating chocolates, but really, really still craves for it. Then one day somebody will bring a chocolate cake and they'll end up eating the whole thing. I don't know, eating the whole thing because so long I haven't gotten this chocolate cake. So the beauty of Sanatana Dharma is it doesn't prescribe suppression to anybody. Whatever's there, whatever desire we have, sublimate it towards the higher. Sublimate it towards the higher. Use the world as a field to express that desire with a divine purpose. And that's completely okay. Because only when one does that, then the vasanas become thinned out. Without the vasanas becoming thin, this karma sannyasa is a very difficult path. And imagine what happens to this karma sannyasi. Neither does he go, he cannot express his desires, she cannot express their desires in the field of action. Neither can they meditate and do vichara on the higher. So they cannot do anything. They're basically stuck in between. So Sri Krishna says, don't get into this whole thing. Don't get into this mess. This is a messy, messy side. Better to prepare oneself very well and then get into it naturally. Naturally, things will happen in our life which will make room for us, especially for the householders. When you are ready, things will naturally fall out of your radar. People will naturally move away and stop depending on you. You will have more time to contemplate. And this natural progression is the beauty that the Bhagavad Gita is talking about. Because this natural progression comes with maturity, a deep examination of life, a deep understanding. So he says, sannyasa is dukkham. Dukkham aptam for who? Ayogataha, one who has not performed karma yoga. And for the one who has performed karma yoga, yoga yuktaha, for the one who has performed karma yoga, munihi, they become contemplative. They start turning inward. Muni means mananat munihi. Mananat, reflective, contemplative. They start wanting to go within. They start wanting to go within. Or maunat munihi. One starts to want to be silent, want to be alone. In old age, what happens is many people feel lonely. But actually, what Vanaprastha means is the joy of being alone. Huh? Not the sadness of being lonely, but the joy of being alone. So I know that Karma Yoga has done its job in my life if I'm starting to feel the joy of being alone. If I'm still like wanting people around me, figuring out what to do, where to go, and feeling a little antsy, that means get into Karma Yoga still. Keep doing it. Because as a result, one becomes Muni. And when one becomes contemplative, one turns within, then in no time, one attains that reality. So therefore, Arjuna, take it one step at a time, get into Karma Yoga fully, completely, wholly, until naturally one becomes silent. Naturally. And, I just wanted to give you an example of somebody very beautiful. I'm sure some of you heard of it, heard of him. His name is Nisargadatta Maharaj. He has written this book. He has written, but the devotees have written this book on him. I am that. Basically, they were answers to questions by his devotees or people who came to visit him. And he was a householder. He was a householder. So he grew up, his name was Maruti when he was a child. He was born on Hanuman Jayanti. His name was Maruti. And he grew up in the Varkari Sampradaya. His parents used to worship Lord Vittoba. And so he passed life. He was working and everything, just like everybody else. And he also got married. And one time, his friend went to introduce him to a guru, wanted to introduce him to a guru. And the guru just told him, you are that. You are divine. No, not too much vichara or inquiry, like how we do sometimes. The self is beyond the 5 sheets, different from the 3 bodies, of the nature of Satchit Ananda. All he said was really that you are divine. You are already full. You are already complete. Just meditate on that. Meditate on that I am. Meditate on that being. And I'm going to just read to you just a passage from a book so we can feel what he went through. He said, this is when he was 74. He wrote this, or he said this. I am 74 years old now, and yet I feel I am an infant. I feel clearly that in spite of all the changes, I am a child. My guru told me that child which is you even now is your real self. Go back to the state of pure being where the I am is still in its purity before it became contaminated with this I am or that I am. Your burden is one of false self-identifications. Abandon them all. My guru told me, trust me, I tell you, you are divine. Take it as the absolute truth. So he met his guru and he was in his 30s. He was in his 30s. His guru just told him, you are that. You are divine. Just take that, free from all false identifications. You meditate on that. So clearly, because he had gone through Karma Yoga, this insight just hit him. It just struck him. And after that, for some time, he left for some time. He went on pilgrimage and things like that. But then he realized, I don't need to do all of that. I can go back to being a householder, back to my life, doing what I was doing, and just be completely in this knowledge. And that's what he did. So for some people who have deeply, deeply gone through Karma Yoga, then that realization, na achirena digachati, in no time, because of that purity, when he was given the knowledge, right away it struck him. Right away. Hmm? But on the other hand, somebody who does not have that purity, who goes through karma sannyasa, oh, they suffer. And there is one other story I'll tell you, this scenario, so you can also see. It's a true story. There was one person, his name is Keshav Das. And so he used to perform a lot of puja, a lot of rituals daily. And so his wife was there with him, supporting him. And she used to prepare all the puja materials and help. But sometimes one mistake or another mistake used to happen because she was doing so many things. She was taking care of the house, she was cleaning, she was cooking, she was doing so many things. And he had that really bad habit of yelling. Now, his wife had a guru. And so she told her guru, my husband has this problem of always yelling, yelling. And he's performing this puja, he's doing this worship every day, but it's so hypocritical because to other people, he's just yelling. And so the guru said, tell him to come to me and I'll make him a sadhu like me. So the husband now was very happy. He said, finally, my wife realized that I'm such a great sadhu, that she's telling me to go to her guru. He said, finally, everybody realized how great I am. So he went to this guru, and the guru told him, now we will change your clothes, we will change your dress, because now if you're coming and taking karma sannyasa, this is karma sannyasa. He had to live with the guru for some time. And so he went to take a bath in the river, and in his mind he's imagining that he's going to get flowing orange clothes, sannyasi robes and everything. And he comes out and the guru gives him a loincloth, says, here, wear this. Wear this and put ashes all over your body. From now on, your body is dead to the world. So he's like, what is this? What is it, dead to the world? And then the guru said, now I want you to sit and meditate. So now this Keshav Das had in his mind that I always thought that I would sit in the Himalayas and meditate, and people would come to me bowing at my feet and everything. So the guru told him, you go to the dark cave, sit there for 6 hours and meditate. Oh, he had such a tough time. It was so torturous for him. He didn't know what to do. Then after that, of course, hunger came. So the guru said, today we will fast. But if you're hungry, you take my patra, my vessel, and you go for bhiksha. You go and beg for alms. Oh, he had some kind of pride. He said, I'm a householder. We give food to other people. How can I go beg for food? So again, he had a really, really tough time. And the guru told him, on your way back, you bring firewood because it will be cold and we will need some heat to sleep. So he came back, he ate. Then Keshav Das was wondering where to sleep. The guru said, here, sannyasi sleeps wherever there is ground, sannyasi sleeps. And the whole night he couldn't sleep. The next morning, he woke up, he went to the guru and said, please, I want to go back home to my wife. Please send me back home. I thought that I could be a very good sannyasi. I thought that I'm ready for this path. But in reality, I didn't know what I was doing. This is too tough. And the guru said, first and foremost, you must learn to be a good husband. Do your dharma, fulfill your responsibilities, and do them very, very well. So you go back home and do that. And second, that guru said, don't give up on this path. You tried it for one day, it was tough. Okay, fine, but keep going, build that stamina, build that purity, so that at some point you can live this kind of life as well. And so he went back home. And of course, that experience transformed him. He didn't yell as he would, and he wasn't as arrogant as he was. But now he humbly learned that first and foremost, he had to fulfill his dharma. So this is what it means. For somebody who's unprepared, dukkham. Dukkham eva dukkham. It's only sadness. So therefore, Sri Krishna says, your path, Arjuna, is Karma Yoga. It's a very beautiful path. It's also tough. As I said last week, don't think Karma Yoga is the easy way out. It's also very tough. Very, very tough to keep all of our actions centered on Bhagavan, on that truth. And these verses will also come. So proceed from that path. Now, and one more point also I wanted to make here is that another thing, when a sannyasi, one takes karma sannyas and they're not ready for it, and let's say they do something wrong or they fall away from it, it creates a bad effect or a bad name in society. I'm sure you know that verse in Bhaja Govinda. Jatilo mundi lunchita kesha. Yeah. Kashayam bara bahukrita vesha. Right? So it's as though it creates a bad name for sannyas. Because people unprepared or with different motives enter into this, and sanctity gets lost. And that's why Swami Tapovan Maharaj didn't like to give sannyas. He said, nah, I don't know if anybody's, it is a tough path and I'm not going to give it. You want it, you get it from somewhere else. So they also, it's not only their loss, but the loss of Sanatana Dharma, the loss of society as a whole. So when we pretend or when we rush into things too quickly, everybody suffers also, not only us, right? Okay. Now, how does one from Karma Yoga get to moksha again? Please tell me, it's as though Arjuna is asking, please tell me from this path of Karma Yoga, how again will I come to moksha? Tell me what I need to do. So Sri Krishna says, this is what is required. Verse number 7. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma.
Yoga yukto vishuddhatma.
Vijitatma jitendriyaha.
Vijitatma jitendriyaha.
Sarvabhutatma bhutatma.
Sarvabhutatma bhutatma.
Kurvannapi na lipyate.
Kurvannapi na lipyate.
Yoga yukto vishuddhatma. Vijitatma jitendriyaha. Sarvabhutatma bhutatma. Kurvannapi na lipyate. So here, what does he say? He says, now this is what the progression is. Okay? Yoga yuktaha. Yoga, karma yoga, yuktaha. The one who's devoted to karma yoga. Vishuddhatma. Now there's many atmas in this verse. Each atma will mean a different thing. Vishuddhatma here means one who has a pure mind. So atma here means mind. Vishuddhatma. Vijitatma. Now here atma means body. One who has conquered the body. Vijitatma. Jitendriyaha. One who has subdued their senses. Sarva bhutatma bhutatma. Now atma here means self. Somebody who recognizes that they are the self in all beings. Sarva bhutatma. The self in all beings. Bhutatma. So the self, that inner self in the self in all beings. Kurvan api, even though doing, na lipyate, one is not tainted. So one is who's devoted to the path of action, whose mind is quite pure, who has conquered the self. Self here means body, who subdued their senses, who realizes the self as the self in all, though acting is not really acting, not tainted. Na lipyate. So first we'll see Karma Yoga Yuktaha. Karma Yoga Yuktaha means, this is very clear, the one who has Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Prasada Buddhi. one who is able to dedicate their actions to the higher and accept the results as prasada, as God's grace, as God's will. As God's will. Then Vishuddhatma, purified mind. This means one has, after performing karma yoga, if one does it to perfection, if one does it well, the mind becomes purified, means there's a clear vision. A purified mind means less raga dvesha, less likes and dislikes, less impurities such as the Shadripu, the 6 enemies, kama, desire, krodha, anger, moha, delusion, mada, pride, matsarya, jealousy, right? Kama, krodha, then lobha, greed. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. All of these impurities have lessened to a great extent. So one is not anymore feeling jealous or angry or greedy, or one doesn't have any unnecessary desires. All of these things are not there. They're not there means they're reduced to a great extent. If these things are still there in my mind, and if there's strong likes, strong dislikes, strong attraction, strong aversion, that means the mind hasn't been purified to a great extent yet. So even if one sits to meditate, they will only meditate on what's there in their mind, the person that they like or dislike, or the thing that they like or dislike. Their mind will only go there. So there's no point in sitting for meditation at that point. So karma yoga purifies the mind, so all of these impurities are reduced. All of these impurities are reduced, and the mind becomes sattvic. Vishuddhatma, the mind becomes sattvic. And I said this is clear vision because when the mind becomes sattvic, then vision is very clear. What my purpose of life is, what I'm supposed to do, what I'm not supposed to do, what is the next step, everything becomes very, very clear. Otherwise, the mind is very cloudy. I'm not sure where I'm going, I'm not sure what to do. Or the cloudy mind means that there's a lot of selfishness still there. There's a lot of selfishness. I'm confused because I want this for myself, but I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. I think I really kind of want to do this. I want to go here, but I know this is what I'm supposed to do. Clear vision means I do what I'm supposed to do. This is called Vishuddhatma. There's no any other way about it. It's a sattvic mind with a clear vision, a clear purpose in life. Vijitatma, one who has controlled their body to a great extent. So again, without the control of the body and senses, one cannot realize the truth. That is a fact. So here, discipline is very important. Discipline in terms of our bodily activities. Our waking up, our sleeping, our eating, our nourishing, our exercising, all of that, all of our bodily activities are controlled, are disciplined. It's not that we just do whatever we want when we want. One becomes a master of their body. And this we've seen in chapter 4 also. This is a kind of yajna, where we're a master of the senses, not a victim of them. Then Jitendriya means somebody who has mastered their senses to the extent that there's no more fight. In chapter 2, there was this verse in Sthita Prajna Lakshana that Indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. That even if the mind is, there's the mind, the intellect, and the senses. 3 things. Intellect is going one way. Intellect is going maybe inward, towards evolution, towards doing the right thing. the path of Shreyas, but senses are going to the path of Preyas. Huh? And the mind is in the middle. Mind is in the middle. Mind doesn't know what to do. And so what happens is the mind gets captured by the senses. It gets captured by the senses instead of going with the intellect. Huh? Haranti prasabham manaha means this. It gets captured by the senses. This is a weakness of a person. So what it was saying in chapter 2 is that this is how a person falls. That, when their mind is captured by the senses. I'll give a very basic example. Alarm clock rings to wake up for sadhana. So the intellect will say, wake up for sadhana. It is 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, whatever time. Wake up for sadhana. Wake up for sadhana. Then the senses will say, oh no, bed is so nice and soft. I'm feeling so cozy. I can feel it in my skin. And, I slept late last night, so it's okay. So senses are wanting to sink in bed. Now the mind is in the middle. Now what is the mind to do? What is the mind to do? Most of the time, what happens? The mind goes with the senses. It gets captured. It gets captured. And the whole thing falls. But when we say jitendriyaha, here means the senses don't even tempt the mind. They don't tempt the mind. So the mind doesn't get captured. The senses, the mind, the intellect, they're all aligned. There's no battle. There's no battle. There is no battle that, oh, it's time to wake up, but I want to sleep. No battle. Oh, there's so much food, but I know I ate already enough. What should I do? No battle. So jitendriyaha, no battle. Everything's aligned because the vision is so clear. So Vishuddhatma, the vision is clear vision. Vijitatma, jitendriyaha, clear action. Action is clear. No war here. Peaceful. Sarva bhutatma, bhutatma. Then the transformation is clear. The mind becomes so pure that, see, when we're focusing on fighting with ourselves, I want to go here, but this is telling me to do this. I need to do this, but I'm so tired. When there's so much battle here, there is no time to go inside, to be contemplated. So when a person has mastered these things, then sarva bhutatma bhutatma, they are ready for the knowledge of the self, meaning that they realize that the self is the self in all beings. The self is the self in all beings. In chapter 4, we saw Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi. So not that I'm the self in just me, I'm the pure awareness in me, but I'm the pure awareness in all beings, in the whole entire world. I am the self. One comes to this realization. And when one comes to this realization, then purvanapi nalipyate. Even if actions are happening, they are not tainted by it. They're not tainted by it. So this is the progression for karma yoga. That one has to sort of go through this purification to get the mind to a very, very pure state where the vision is so clear. Then the action becomes very, very clear because of the mastery of the senses. And then the transformation is also very clear that one sees the self in all beings. And when one has this, then one truly knows that they are the actionless self. And even if actions around them are happening, they really aren't doing anything. And what is the nature now? So the next question becomes, what is the nature of the actionless self amidst action? What is the nature of kurvannapi nalipyate? Even though doing, they are not affected. So now the next verses, they reveal that. So we will read 8 and 9. Naiva kinchit karomiti.
Naiva kinchit karomiti.
Yukto manyeta tattvavita.
Yukto Yukto manyeta tattvavid.
Pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran.
Pashyan shunvan sprishan jigran.
Ashnan gachan swapan shwasan.
Asnan gachan swapan shwasan.
Pralapan visrijan grinnan.
Pralapan visrujan ghrnan.
Unmishan nimishan api.
Unmishan nimishannapi.
Indriyani indriyartheshu.
Indriyani indriyartheshu.
Vartanta iti dharayan.
Vartanta iti dharayan.
Naiva kinchit karomiti. Yukto manyeta tattvavita. Pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran. Ashnan gachan swapan shwasan. Pralapan visrijan grihnan. Unmishan nimishan api. Indriyani indriyartheshu. Vartanta iti dharayan. So it's a tongue twister verse. And that's also because being the actionless self amidst action is also quite a twister. It's a little bit of a challenge. So the verses match the concept. What is this tattvavit now? One who realizes the self in all beings. What are they thinking? What are they thinking? What is the realization that they come to? Naiva kinchit karomi iti. Naiva means I don't do anything. Na kinchit karomi. Na eva kinchit karomi means not even a wee bit. I don't do even a wee bit. I don't do anything. Yuktaha manyeta tattvavita. Yuktaha. Yuktaha again here means the one who is endowed with that knowledge. Here it means the one who's endowed with knowledge. One who's endowed with knowledge, this tattvavit, this the one who's realized the self, manyeta, the one who's realized the self, thinks like this, that I don't do anything. I don't do anything when? Pashyan, seeing. Shrinvan, hearing. Sprishan, touching. Jigran, smelling. Ashnan, tasting. So when seeing happens, hearing happens, touching, smelling, tasting, when all of that happens, I don't do anything. So this is what we call the jnanendriyas, the 5 organs of knowledge, right? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or 5 faculties of knowledge. Then gachan. Gachan means going. Going, I do not do anything. Going here is a karma indriya, the faculty of action. Going. Swapan. Swapan means sleeping. Sleeping means the dharma or the function of the antakarana. Antakarana because it is the mind or the ego that goes to sleep after all. Atman doesn't go to sleep. So even the function of the mind, even if the mind is sleeping, I don't do anything. Swapan, shwasan. Shwasan means breathing. So these are the pranas. Even the pranas are breathing. Breathing is going on. I am not doing anything. I don't do anything. Pralapan, speaking. Visrijan, letting go. Grinhan, grasping. Even through these actions, I don't do anything. So again, pralapan, speaking, and then letting go is evacuation and reproduction. Grihnan, seizing or grasping. These are the karmendriyas, faculties of action. So if you see, all of them are enumerated, right? All of them are enumerated. 5 jnanendriyas are enumerated. 5 karma indriyas are enumerated. The karma indriyas are gachan, going, locomotion, and then pralapan, speaking, visrijan, evacuation and reproduction, and then grihnan, grasping. Then unmishan, nimishan, right? Unmishan, opening the eyes, and nimishan, closing the eyes. These are the upapranas. Even when this is going on, I don't do anything. So then what's happening? Indriyani, indriyartheshu. The sense organs are moving amongst the sense objects. Organs are moving against, in and through the sense objects. Vartanta iti dharayan. Vartanta means they are moving. They're moving. Dharayan. The tattvavid is convinced or knows about this. So I do nothing at all. Thus would be the harmonized knower of truth think. Thus would the harmonized knower of truth think. Seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, going, sleeping, breathing, speaking, letting go, seizing, opening, and closing the eyes, convinced that the senses move among the sense objects. So this is very, very beautiful, very meditative exercise. And this is exactly what we learned in chapter 4, verse 18. Karmani akarma yaf pashyet, right? Idea is that all actions are happening. All things are happening, but I am the actionless self witnessing all of the action. How is this? How am I the actionless self witnessing all the actions? Again, come back to this understanding that how is anything actually known in the world? How is anything actually known? Swami Akhandananda Ji Maharaj, he writes so beautifully that anything is known only when we become one with it. And what does that mean? If there's an object, let's say here there's a book. There's a book. So how is this book known? So the consciousness, that pure consciousness, pure awareness, illumines the mind. It illumines the mind. And the mind illumines my eyes. And then my eyes illumine the book, right? So what's happening? It's as though consciousness is becoming one with the book. And that's why we say consciousness plus object is thought or experience. So how do I know the book? Consciousness, it illumines the mind. Then the mind illumines the eyes. And then the eyes illumine the book. So all throughout, consciousness is illumining, and it is just a play of consciousness that's happening. The play of consciousness. So what is consciousness doing here? Consciousness is just illuminating. It's just an awareness. So with the eyes might be seeing the book, the ears may be hearing sound, the nose may be smelling something, the tongue may be tasting something, right? The hands may be touching something. But what is consciousness doing amidst all of this? Just illuminating, just there. In its presence, everything happens. So the mind is thinking. What is consciousness doing? It is just illuminating. That's what it's just illuminating. So, like in Atma Bodha, there's this nice verse that says, Yasya sannidhi matrena. Just like the sun, and it's by its mere presence. The sun doesn't say, I'm going to shine on everybody today. I'm going to create heat for anybody today. It doesn't actively say all of that. It just is. The sun just is. And by its nature, heat and light come. It just is. Right? And by the sun's nature, everyone gets energized. Everyone gets energized. Everyone gets nourished. Everyone gets illumined just by the sun being there. Being there. The same way, just by consciousness being there, all of this happens. Thinking happens, moving happens, sleeping happens. Waking up happens, blinking happens, closing and opening the eyes happens. In the presence of consciousness, everything happens. So here, this tattvavit, this knower of truth, right? This knower of truth knows that I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything, right? Just like now, if you think of dream, if you think of dream, what happens in dream? Just that mind appears as so many things, right? That a mind appears as so many things, so many people, so many places, living, non-living beings. That one mind appears as everything, right? The same way, this consciousness appears as this whole world. It appears as this whole world, but nothing is happening to consciousness. Consciousness is not becoming anything, doing anything, willing anything. It's a play of consciousness. So the Tattvavit knows that I don't do anything. I just am. In the same way how with electricity, electricity is there. Now, electricity on its own doesn't do anything. But when we're plugged into it, it can heat water, right? It can heat water, it can power up a computer, it can turn on the light, it can do all kinds of things. But that electricity, that all-pervading electricity is not doing anything. The heating of the water is happening, the turning on of the light is happening, the powering of the computer is happening, but it's not doing anything. It's not doing anything. So consciousness is not doing anything. And this is the great realization of the Tattvavit, of the knower of truth. And this is also the practice of the karma sannyasi. So the one who has taken that karma sannyas, this is their constant practice. That amidst all of the actions, I am the actionless self. And rooted in it, things will continue as they continue. The body will do what it has to do, mind will do what it has to do, even this ego will do whatever it has to do. But I am that which is absolutely free of it, free of it. Now a question comes, but what if it's doing something bad? What if it's doing something bad? How can you say I'm free of it? How can you say won't you want to control it? Won't you want to stop it and change its direction? So remember who we're talking about. We're talking about somebody who has, out of their maturity, renounced, means distanced themselves from everything, and has practiced karma yoga to a great extent. So in this way, their actions will be dharmic. Their actions will be pure. So we're speaking about somebody who is highly sattvic. For somebody who is rajasic or tamasic to do this kind of practice is very hard. It's very hard because the mind is very rajasic. Again, we will try to get into that mentality of let me control the mind, let me fix the mind, let me bring my mind here, let me bring my mind there. That's the practice of yoga. Yoga means Raja Yoga. That's the practice of Raja Yoga, right? Controlling, harnessing the mind and putting it in one place. And then if the mind is highly tamasic, if we're highly dull or inert and we're not supposed to sleep, but we're sleepy, we're not supposed to be sloppy, but we're sloppy, again, the mind will kick in. So when the mind is highly rajasic or tamasic, this practice is going to be difficult. And we will question, but how do you do it? And also, a question will come that I have so many responsibilities. How can I just step back and just be a witness to it? Again, if the mind is sattvic, the responsibilities will automatically happen. Just think about how we do things every day. It's almost automatic. Our waking up is the same way, our eating is the same way, our doing this is the same way. Everything is it's just happening. It's just happening. So what it takes to remain as a witness is this high degree of sattva. So to the tattvavit, to the knower of the truth, and even to the one who is in this realm or in this path of vichara, even to this one who is in this path of vichara, who is inquiring into the truth, this practice becomes very, very powerful. Understanding that everything is just happening and consciousness is illuminated. And how to explain what's happening? Indriyani, indriya artheshu. Just the senses, you want to say the organs, because both the external organs, external sense organs, and the internal organ, the mind, the senses in the mind are just playing in the sense objects. So the eyes are seeing form, the ears are hearing sound, the nose is smelling smell, the tongue is tasting whatever objects or food that are to be tasted. So all of these things are just the sense organs, internal organ, they're interacting with the sense objects. This whole thing is just happening. In where? In awareness. And the same thing we saw in chapter 3, guna guneshu vartante. The play of the three gunas with the three gunas. How? Because remember, our senses and our mind are born of the subtle 5 elements. This is Tattva Bodha. This is back in the day. But the mind is born from the Samashti Sattvic aspect. Samashti Sattvic aspect of Maya. The organs, the Indriyas, are born from the Sattvic aspects. Each one is born from one. So seeing, sound, will start with sound. Sound is born from space, right? Sound is born from space. Touch is born from air. And then seeing is born from fire. Taste is born from water. Smell is born from earth. So from the sattvic aspects of Maya, these senses and the mind are born. And then, of course, the sense objects are 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. So again, another way to look at it, it's just the gunas interacting with the gunas. So whether we say guna guneshu vartante, or whether we say indriyani indriyartheshu, the same thing, it's all happening in awareness, in our awareness. And this is the knowledge that the seeker, karma sannyasi, or the tattvavit, they hold on to. This is how they practice being the actionless self amidst action. And they are, thus, in this method, they are free of action. They're free of action. Now the question comes, what does a karma yogi do? If this is the practice of a karma sannyasi, what does a karma yogi do to be free of action? What would be the most effective way to do that? So that we will see next week. Okay? So what have we seen today? Just in a brief nutshell, we've seen that sannyasa, if from verse 6, that if one just takes to sannyasa, ayoga yuktaha, means ayogataha, not prepared, then it's only dukkham. It's very, very sad. One takes to sannyasa not prepared, it will be very difficult, it will be very tough. And therefore, perform karma yoga and prepare oneself well. How to do that? When one performs karma yoga, what happens to the mind? Becomes pure, vishuddhatma. Then one is also able to control or master their senses, vijitatma jitendriya. And as a result of that, they're able to gain the knowledge that they are the self in all beings, sarva bhutatma bhutatma. And even while doing, they're never affected. They're not tainted. What does that mean? That means they realize that they are the actionless self amidst all action. So let all action take place. It's okay because I am the actionless self, ever steady, ever grounded, ever unaffected. Most important is ever at peace because the nature is peace. This is called freedom from action. Freedom. So they can be in any vyavahara, they can be doing, appearing to do whatever it is they're doing. But inside, they're absolutely still. Okay, stop here. Closing prayer. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, I have